Hello everybody and welcome back to another RP-1 tutorial. Last week we took a look at how to easily get into orbit with the Heavy Satellites program, so I thought it was only fitting that this week we take a time to look at the Light Satellites program. So we're going to go ahead and start up a new scenario, choose the 1957 Light Satellites. Go ahead and name it, and we're just going to continue with standard difficulty options. So, like in the last one, we have the Space Gazette letting us know that we are indeed in the orbital rocket stage. We're going to click Permit All Connectivity, move on from there. We don't need to look at the setup. Like as I did in the last episode, we're not going to really focus too much on the starting aspect, more on the building of the rocket. So, I would recommend when you start a new playthrough, going through here, picking your leaders, picking your contractors. I'd recommend coming through here and hiring some researchers. But all that we are going to do today is come here into the research development, and then we're going to choose 1958 orbital rocketry, and I'll show you why when we build the rocket. So we're going to choose that. All we need to do is get it researched. Now would be a great time to add your researcher, so we're just going to hit Control to hire 100 at a time and hire everyone that we have. So that'll just start working on that. We're also going to grab the contract for Early Satellites program. First, artificial satellite, launch a new vessel, uncrewed of course, with a minimum perigee of 150 kilometers, with no apogee required. So we're going to go ahead and take that, and that'll help us keep an eye on our success as we build our rocket. So now we are going to hop into the VAB and start the build. So it's been a little while since we've done a light satellite. In our series we are currently working with the Heavy Satellites program, so it was fun actually to revisit this once again. So we are going to go with the smooth cone. You can do the regular cone, but I prefer the smooth cone. Whoops. That backwards. Alright, and so I'm going to basically be recreating the rocket that I built earlier, and it is it's a fairly simple build, but I utilize a different method for the orbiting process, which I'm kind of excited to show you. So we are looking for the AJ-10 early series. Here we are, the AJ-10 early series, and because we are researching 1958's orbital rocketry, we can go ahead and select this one right here. As you see, we go from 115 second burn time to 150, and a little bit of a drop in our thrust, but a little bit better ISP in the vacuum, so this will do us nicely. That's why I like using those 10 points to give myself a little bit of a head start when it comes to our technology. So now we are going to make this into our desired rocket. I believe we're going to go for a 500 millimeter diameter for right now, and we'll see how long that ends up being, and if we need to adjust from there. Let's see, our engine is 150 second burn time, and it requires a high pressure tank, so we're going to go here, put the high pressured aluminum gridded. I did forget to mention that we grabbed the ISO grid structure. It does cost a little bit more, but it weighs a little bit less, and in the Light Satellites program, you have a tendency of just end up scraping by when it comes to orbit. The Heavy Satellites program is pretty great because you can just brute force your way there, but Light Satellites program, you really kind of have to work for it. So 150 second burn time, so we can just go ahead and start extending that out. Get ourselves to a seconds. And we're actually going to overburn it by 20 seconds, but I don't like how long this rocket is, so we are actually going to increase its diameter and reduce its length. Now that's too short. Alright, so we've got that set up at 7.7 meters of length and 600 millimeters diameter, but we're going to have to fix our nose cones. Let's go ahead. Oops, too far. There we go. We're going to go ahead and put that on Science Core at our most unlocked avionics. We're going to put about 400 electrical charge in here. Size to fit, as you see, it makes it very squat. We don't want it to be that squat for aerodynamic sake. But again, we don't need 4,000 here, so we're going to put 400, apply to preserve dimensions. There we go. It's a nice balance of a lot of electricity, or at least enough electricity, and not too much weight. Let's configure our experiments, because of course you are going to want to collect some science. We're going to put on the mass spectrometer, the thermometer, and the barometer. There we go. All three there. And we're going to go ahead and start all this. As it's a new save, we're going to have all of that science undone thus far, and so it'll be good to go. Let's go ahead and start naming this as Orbital 1. Orbital 1. There we go. Alright, and so this is relatively our upper stage. We still have a little bit more to go. And then go ahead and we are going to put some Sepratron motors here. Let's search by mass. There we go. These will be to help for ullage here. And then these will be for spin stabilization. And I will show you exactly how I utilize these in a second. So we are going to want to actually come in here into your right click and lower the thrust to about 50. Right, about half. Doesn't have to be exact, but less than max. And bring down the amount of fuel in it to either 333 or 444. Play around with whatever works the best. I'm going to do 444, but we want spin stabilization on this, but we don't want it to be as aggressive as it is out of the box. As far as our ullage motors go, just go ahead and leave those as is. So now we are going to need a decoupler to continue on building. So let's go ahead and just grab this basic ring decoupler. I like this one a lot. It's very simple. We're going to add, no, we don't need to add a diameter to that. Just make it in line with the engine bell, and that is good enough. And then we are going to take a quick side and do a little strange thing here by adding an isogrid structure. And we are going to make that a cone. Bring our top to be the 600, and we'll leave the bottom there for now. And then we're going to come back up here to the pods, very top, grab ourselves another set of avionics, and then we are going to actually use this as near space avionics. So, well, before we configure it, let's go ahead and just extend the length, because we are going to need some distance to that. And then we are going to come over here to Command and Control Central. I'm not the most well-knowledged on the differences between these thrusters, but from what I know, when you search by cost, the farther down they go, the more powerful they are. So this isn't really necessary to be very powerful, so we're going to come up here. I don't know, this one seems good, nice and light. There we go. We're going to put on symmetry of 4, right click on it, choose engine, and we're going to switch to nitrous oxide. I like this because it has the highest thrust, newtons of thrust, and so and as far as I know, it doesn't cause any troubles with evaporation or anything. I think that's just something you deal with later. Anyways, let's go ahead and take this tank, turn it into a high pressure tank, and fill it with the nitrous oxide. We don't actually need a lot, so we can decrease the length a bit like that. It's good enough. And alright, so we're good to go here. Let's go ahead and find out how much our craft weighs. 4.141. Hey, 141. So let's go ahead and plot that into here. We definitely don't need that much electrical charge. Let's go ahead and just give it, I don't know, let's say 20. And a controllable mass of, what did we say? What was that? 4.1.41. Let's do 4.3. Applies 30 fit. That rounds to 4.29, which is still good enough. Oh. Actually, now that we look at it, our mass is actually 2.998. So we can reduce that even farther. Let's just say 3. Apply resize to fit. 2.99. 2.971. Perfect. That is the exact amount that we need for there, so I'm happy. So moving on, let's go ahead and grab ourselves another ring decoupler here. And we are going to adjust out the diameter. Let's make it 1. Well, no. We'll keep it in line with that one, and we'll just make the avionics here. No, not the avionics. Excuse me. Had that backwards. We're going to go ahead and grab another one of the procedural isogrid tanks. Then we'll put the avionics here. Grab another isogrid structure, put it right under there, and then we will work on getting this together. So we're going to want this to be a cone. We're going to make our top match the decoupler, which actually can be scaled down 1 to 2.5. I think that's what that is. There we go. So then that means that this gets scaled to 2.5. Keep everything nice in line. That keeps everything aerodynamic. Alright, but we are going to want this wider than that, so let's bring that out to like 1.7. Follow in line with the avionics and the lower tank. There we go. Alright, so that's our bottom stage started. Let's go ahead and get our engine here. So for the lifting engine, I'm actually going to go with the LR-79. So let's go ahead and sort by name. I'll put it alphabetically. There we go. There we go. The LR-79 US Carolong's gas booster engine. One of the ways that I can easily differentiate whether or not it is the launch engine or a mid-stage engine is whether or not it requires ground support clamps. If you ever see this on any of the engines, as you look here, we don't see that it needs. Oh, this one actually does ground support clamps. But if it needs ground support clamps, then obviously it has to be in the first stage because you can't support to the ground if it's already launched. So this is going to be our engine for the time, and because we have the 1958 orbital rocketry science node being researched, we're going to go ahead and grab that configuration. So now we can fill the tank. It doesn't need to be high pressure, so we're not going to do it because it weighs a little bit less when it's not high pressure. So now we have our 6.3 seconds of delta burn. I'm gonna go ahead and put. I don't think you have to, but it's just a good habit to grab the launch clamp and put it on there right now. And now we are going to extend it. This has a burn time of 182 seconds. So we may actually increase the diameter later, but let's go ahead and extend it out. We're going to press B, get that centered again. Alright, so that is more than enough, but that is way too tall of a rocket. I don't like that at all. So we are going to bring it up to a 2 diameter, bring it back down. So 182 seconds. Yeah, I think we can still do better with that. So let's make that a 2.2 diameter. And that seems about right. Okay, so 2.2 diameter, 14 length. So let's go ahead and adjust our avionics to match 2.2. And the bottom of that is going to be 2.2. We're also going to extend it out a little bit, give it a better aerodynamic shape, and we're also going to fill it with the same fuel as the lower stage. So as you see now, we have 200 seconds of burn time out of this. It only has 182 seconds, so we are going to just drop that down just by 1, brings it to a 187. We have a little bit of wiggle room that we can overburn our engines. You actually can burn this for the full 200 seconds if you need to. I recommend playing around with the amount of fuel you have, because sometimes it's more efficient to have less fuel because it just doesn't, the rocket just doesn't weigh as much, and sometimes it's more efficient to just burn for longer. So we are going to grab our not control surfaces, our wings, procedural wings, supersonic. We're going to choose supersonic because we will go very fast in this, and you don't want them burning up. As I mentioned in every single one of my tutorials, your wings will probably not look like this. I have a glitch that for some reason it keeps my wings, my default wings from a long time ago saved. So for some reason they just always come in nice and neat like that, but yours will probably look something more along like this. But as you see, you highlight it, press J, and you get these handy dandy little controls to bring your wings to the appropriate shape that you want. You also have this little box here that you can adjust the stuff there as well, but I like the controls. Alright, so let's go ahead and get our center of lift and center of thrust in line. Or excuse me, center of lift and center of mass. Center of thrust is something else. Alright, so there is that. You know what? According to my previously built rocket, we actually burnt this for 3 minutes and 20 seconds. So I am going to give it a little bit more fuel. We are going to burn a little over time because that is what I planned for initially. Okay. So that is good. All of that is, this is the exact numbers that I had before. Okay, so this is essentially the rocket that I built in my testing. Down to the delta V. No, not down to the delta V. Why is this slightly different? Oh, you know what? I think I know why. I went here and I adjusted the mass strength multiplier of this. Adjusted that down a little bit. Brought that just barely in line. Because wings have weight here. So as you see, our delta V is changing with every... I'm going to leave it right there. Our delta V changes with every change we make. And that's because those have mass and weigh enough as well. So now we have to adjust our avionics. 62.26. We actually haven't adjusted that at all. Let's close that. Right-clicking on our avionics here. We can choose the most advanced that we have. Go ahead and lock that. We definitely don't need that much electrical amount. In fact, we don't need a lot at all. We're going to give it 15, barely anything. And what would we say with that? It's probably going to change, but 62.3. So 62.5, we'll say. Put that as 15 again. And applied it and resized to fit. So now as we look at our mass, it has all changed. So now it's actually only 61 tons on the dot, actually. That's pretty nice. So we are going to change that again, and it's going to be 61 exactly. Apply resize to fit. And so that turns it to 60.8. So now it actually doesn't have enough to control. However, as we see here, our center of lift and center of mass got thrown out of whack again. So we can kind of come here. Oops, let's zoom out a little bit so we can see. There we go. We can actually come in here and adjust this ever so slightly. Whoops. Like that. And then when we come in here again, 61.26, 1.5. Apply resize to fit. There we go. So now our center of lift and center of mass is still in line because it got thrown out of whack when we started adjusting our avionics. And we do have enough to control our thing. We could probably come in here and fine tune it. Maybe, yeah, let's try 61.3. Oh, all right. So that's even a little better. So we still control the entire mass of the craft. We'll have control the entire way. Let's remove this one. Just make sure this is all correct. So this can hold 2.971, 2.99. That's perfect. And when we remove this right here, that little separate spin motor is right there, directly center mass. So that is looking good. Everything is ready. We can go ahead, put this all together. Let's get our staging correct and get ready for our first launch. So let's go ahead and bring our engine down here first. It's got to light, and then we can let it go. And followed up here to this. We want our RCS to happen at the same time as our separation here. Just get it turned on immediately. And then this part is actually going to coast. Once we get into that part of simulation, you'll see just how useful this little inner stage is. So we get those RCS on. And then we don't want that just yet. We're going to create a new stage. I like to just give myself a new layer to work with. I'm going to put this on because that has to spool up. And then, oh, actually, no, excuse me. I'm going to put the separatrons there, then there. That'll spool up. One moment. Okay, so these separatrons right here, this one right there, and then this decoupler right there at the same time. So we are going to drop the avionics, and then that is going to lead into the spooling up of this. These will give us the ullage control that we need to keep this going, and then let's see, where do these spin motors come into play the best? Probably at the same time as the separation. So, all right, so I think this, get rid of that. I think this is ready to go. So at this point you can choose to color it, or you can do your first simulation and then color it after, depending on how it flies. But we're gonna go ahead and save it, and we're gonna simulate. As you see here, it only needs 1958 orbital rocketry. So it will take a little bit to unlock that. However, it will take a little bit to build the launch complex as well. We're going to go ahead and throw that because I know this one, know this will work. So let's go ahead and simulate it, and I'll show you the steps to get to orbit. All right, here we are on the launch pad. Stubby little rocket, nothing to brag about, nothing to write home about. But you know what? This is the Light Satellights program, not the Heavy, so we don't need to be bold or show off with our rocket just for it to get to orbit. So we have this tiny little 2-stage thing. Well, maybe I would say it's a 3-stage thing based on the avionics, but regardless, 2 engines. So these are the screens that we're going to be needing with the orbit info and delta V stats from McLeod. You can pull down this window here. Actually, everything in McLeod is in here. So we're going to want the ascent guidance, smart ASS, delta V stats, and orbit info, because this is going to be partly guided by McLeod and partly manually assisted. As we come in here, we take a quick look at our contract. We need to, everything's ready. We just need to achieve an orbit around Earth with a minimum perigee of 150 kilometers. Easy enough. So when we go into our ascent guidance, we're going to plug in these numbers here. I've just had better luck with a higher target periapsis. We are going to adjust ourselves towards the end. We're actually going to disengage autopilot long before we get there, but this gives me the right kind of angle for the altitude I want. And the target apoapsis, it doesn't really matter, so I just put 5,000 here. Orbit inclination, we're going to launch at the same. None of this actually will come into play because we're not doing any hot staging. So all of this should be basically just out of the box. You should handle it. Yeah, I think everything's good. We go ahead and engage autopilot. So now we are ready to go. It's just that simple. So we're going to go ahead and hit the space bar, and let's get going. There we go, and McLeod automatically takes care of the ignition and the launch, throttling up. I mentioned before in the last tutorial the Heavy Satellites program how to get to orbit, and I'll mention again here. You can physics warp. You can use this little thing up here or the Alt period and commas key to physics warp back and forth. However, I found more issues happen during those times than not during those times, and so whenever doing anything important, I kind of tend towards not time warping, or not physics warping anyways, especially not when the engines are running, because that's when you run into errors. Obviously, if it's a simulation, the stakes are a lot lower. You know, you're not going to waste the cost of the rocket by doing that, so feel free when in your own simulations you can physics warp here to kind of get yourself up and out there a lot faster, but personally I'm going to leave it running. I'm going to go ahead and speed up the footage for you so you don't have to sit here waiting as we spend the time burning. But anyways, as you see, the McLeod is handling the gravity turn, and all we have to do is watch it. So now, as we pass the 55-kilometer apoapsis mark and we are pointed nearly horizontally, we only have about 45 seconds of burn left, we get ourselves ready to make the switch over. At 145 kilometers, give or take, apoapsis, we are actually going to disengage this autopilot and switch over to Smart ASS, and we have to do it fairly quickly, and it's important that we don't click the wrong button. So I will show you when we get there, but we're going to want to hit Smart ASS, turn it on to surface mode, and then point it horizontally. So apoapsis 120. We are going to wait till 145, and there we go. We're going to disengage autopilot, hit surface, pitch it down to 0, and that is going to use the rest of our momentum, push it forward, and then we're going to stage. Sometimes you'll have a little bit, and we're going to turn our RCS on. Sometimes you can get a little more delta V out of there, pushing it forward. Unfortunately, we didn't actually have a lot of time in horizontal mode. Might have waited a little too long there or something, but nonetheless, we still managed that pretty well. So now this is where this stage, we can kill our RCS and just kind of hold here. So this is where this stage comes in handy, because without it, our second stage would be unguided. This is just purely, oh, that's covering. Actually, we don't need that anymore. This is purely a science core, and this won't, well, I guess the science is already done over here. Maybe not. Anyways, this is a science core and can't point horizontally, can't make any decisions on its own short of staging. So we have on this avionics packets here to help us point ourselves and keep ourselves pointed the direction that we want to. Also, it allows us to coast, basically, because as we see here, our last stage, this engine, has 2 minutes and 50 seconds of burn. Split that in half, that's 1 minute and 25 seconds, give or take. So we're going to wait for a time to apoapsis to cross that, and we're going to burn exactly at the most efficient time that we can. And by having this, you know what, we're going to keep our RCS on. There we go, that'll keep us pointed straight. But by having this avionics here, that allows us to completely keep our positioning ready. So at 1 minute and 33 seconds, I should probably stop yapping and get myself ready to go. So we're going to throttle up, that pushes us forward a little bit, and spacebar, and that's all we need to do. And then as you see here, do you see why I limited the thrust and the amount of fuel that it has? Just because we really don't need too much of a spin. Just a little bit. Oh, I did forget to mention something. Oh, shoot. Yeah, turning this gimbal down. In the thing, turning this gimbal down does help with this kind of thing, because we don't need this to have any kind of control. Although I guess it wouldn't have any kind of control without the... Actually, I guess it doesn't matter. No, I think I just answered that. Never mind. Gimbal control doesn't matter because we have no control. But the spin stabilization should be enough to keep it pointed regularly. And once again, got nothing else to do but wait for the burn time to go through, and I will see you soon. So as you see here, we just passed, or we're about to pass our 0 number on our kilometer. So that transition that we just showed was us passing the 0 on the periapsis kilometer mark, and the camera violently shaking as we got to orbit. But as you see here, we have now successfully got ourselves into orbit. Our periapsis is above 140 kilometers, and well above the 150 required by the contract. We're actually still burning. We could kill our throttle here, but there's no need. But yeah, we have successfully satisfied all the parameters of the contract. All we now need to do is wait 1 minute and 26 seconds, 5. Now that our engine is off, we can go ahead and time warp our way to the conclusion of that contract. And there you have it, just that easy. There are other ways to do this. I'm not going to say that this is the most efficient way. I'm not going to say it's the cheapest way or earliest way that you can do, or even the correct way. Definitely not historical. But by attaching that small avionics packet on the back of your engine for your second stage, makes launching small payload satellites, light satellites, a whole lot nicer, because in the heavy satellites program, it's a lot more reasonable to have near Earth avionics. Can't believe I forgot that. But yeah, heavy satellites can get away with using near Earth avionics. Light satellites need to have that extra space and weight because it just takes so much. Their engines take so much to get them into orbit. But with this configuration, we can do pretty well. As you saw, we burnt for quite a bit after we reached orbit. Yeah, you see here we have quite a bit. And when we looked at our delta V stats in the VAB, we saw that it actually had 1100 or 11,000 delta V. You know, let's go back. We'll look at that rocket. Excuse me, not 11,000. 10,988, just shy of 11,000. But you only need about 9,800 in order to get into orbit in real solar system. So by having that little bit extra, that gives us a margin of error for atmospheric drag and whatnot, or just bad piloting. However, this is also, I believe, you have solid rocket boosters. If you have SRBs that you can throw into the side. I don't think we have any unlocked right now. But if you were to somehow have just a little bit more delta V, maybe, let's see, just extend that. Yeah, extend the length of this. Get yourself a little bit over 11,000, and you can actually utilize this to handle the first 4 contracts of the program all at once. As we see here, all 4 of these contracts can be grabbed all at the same time. Whoops. Oh, scientific satellite, we need to actually have the science experiment. We don't have that unlocked. So pretend that we have that unlocked and we click this. We'll have all 4 of these can be handled all at the same time, because the first artificial satellite is just, hey, just get one into orbit. The scientific satellite is just, hey, have this experiment, the cosmic ray experiment, on board. The solar panel powered satellite is just, hey, have some solar panels and, electrical charge. And the polar orbit, this is the tricky one. This is where you have to get yourself into a polar inclination. But if you create a satellite that has cosmic ray science and some solar panels on it and launch it into a polar orbit, bam, 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 you're basically done with the program. You can get that done all in one launch. I'm not going to do that in today's episode. If that's something you're interested in, maybe I'll run a tutorial on how to build that rocket, or I guess it might just be this rocket, but how to fly that rocket, how to achieve that goal of completing all 4 contracts in a single launch. But in order to complete all 4 launches at the same time, you're going to actually have to need to get satellite era science as well. So if you start this off the program, in addition to the 1958 orbital rocketry, you're going to need to get 7 additional science there. You can squeak into orbit without 1958 orbital rocketry. I believe 1956, 1957 is sufficient. However, I wanted to utilize that technology to make it easier. But again, if y'all are interested in a tutorial on how to complete all 4 of those missions in a single launch, let me know, and maybe I'll come out with that soon enough. But anyways, that is where I'm going to leave today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're looking forward for another RP-1 tutorial. If you did think about subscribing, drop me a like, let me know your thoughts, and I will see y'all in the next one. Take care.